Welcome back to Fluent Path English. I'm Emma.
And I'm Daniel, and today we're talking about something a lot of you have probably felt, but maybe never had a name for.
It's this strange, frustrating moment. You watch a show in English, you understand almost everything, no subtitles, and you feel amazing. You think, I've got this. My English is basically fluent now.
And then 20 minutes later, someone asks you a simple question in real life, and your brain just freezes.
Exactly. And today we're breaking down why that happens. We're calling this one the illusion of mastery.
The illusion of mastery.
So let's start with the illusion itself. Comprehension feels like proof of ability. If you can understand a fast conversation, a movie, a podcast like this one, it seems logical that you should be able to produce that same language.
But comprehension and production are not the same skill. They just aren't. And that's the first thing we need to get comfortable with today.
Think about the difference between watching a professional cook a meal and actually cooking the meal yourself. Watching feels informative. You can follow every step, you understand the logic, the timing, the technique.
But the moment you're standing in your own kitchen with raw ingredients, no instructions on screen, no pause button, it's a completely different experience.
That's exactly what happens with a Netflix binge versus a live conversation. When you're watching a show, your brain is in a passive state. Information is arriving at a fixed pace, someone else controls the rhythm, and you just have to receive it.
There's no pressure to respond. No one's waiting for you to speak. You can relax into it. And honestly, that's part of why it feels so satisfying.
But a live conversation flips all of that. Now you're the one who has to generate the next sentence. There's no script feeding you the words. There's a real person waiting, and that silence while you're thinking, it feels enormous, even if it's only 2 seconds.
And here's the key idea for this section. Recognizing a word is mentally easy. Retrieving that same word from memory under pressure in real time is a completely different mental task.
When you see or hear a word like overwhelmed, your brain just has to match a sound to a meaning you already stored. That's recognition. It's quick, almost automatic.
But if I ask you right now, how do you feel after a long week at work, and you want to use that exact word, your brain has to search, select, and build a full sentence around it on its own, from nothing.
That search process is what most learners have never actually trained. They've trained recognition for years, through movies, through listening, through reading, but retrieval under pressure is a separate muscle.
So if you've ever felt like a fraud in English, understanding everything but freezing when it's your turn to speak, we want you to hear this clearly. That's not a lack of intelligence, and it's not a lack of vocabulary either.
It's simply an untrained skill, and skills can be trained.
And here's something that makes this even more confusing for learners. The better your comprehension gets, the more convincing the illusion becomes.
That's such a good point. When you're a beginner, you know you don't understand much, so you're not surprised when speaking feels hard. But at an advanced level, you understand 95% of a native conversation.
So your brain assumes the remaining 5%, actually producing language, must be just as close. But it isn't. It's not 5% away. It's a different skill entirely, sitting almost at zero if you've never actively trained it.
That mismatch between how advanced you feel and how advanced you actually sound out loud is where a lot of frustration and even embarrassment comes from.
Which is exactly why we wanted to break this down today. Not to discourage you, but to explain precisely why this happens, so you can stop blaming your intelligence and start training the right skill.
Before we go further, if this is already making sense to you, hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps more learners find this channel and start understanding their own English journey a little bit better.
All right, let's go one level deeper into the brain itself. The cognitive disconnect.
So why does this gap exist at a neurological level? Language researchers describe two related but distinct systems in the brain, a recognition center and a production center.
The recognition center handles input. It's constantly active when you're listening or reading, matching sounds and symbols to meanings you've already stored somewhere in your memory.
The production center works completely differently. It has to plan a sentence before you say it, choose the right grammar, select vocabulary, and coordinate the physical act of speaking, all in a fraction of a second.
These two systems develop through different types of practice. Years of watching shows will build an incredibly strong recognition center, but if you're not speaking regularly, your production center simply doesn't get the same workout.
It's like someone who reads about running every single day, studies technique, watches marathons, but never actually runs. Their knowledge is real. Their legs are still untrained.
Now, here's something interesting and honestly a bit controversial. Subtitles, especially in your native language, can actually work against you here.
They feel helpful, right? You watch a scene, you read the subtitle, and everything clicks instantly.
But that instant click is the problem. Subtitles become a psychological crutch. Your brain learns that it never has to sit with uncertainty, never has to work through an unclear sentence on its own. It just waits for the answer to appear on screen.
Over time, this trains a kind of dependency. Your brain gets used to having meaning handed to it instead of building meaning through effort. And that effort, that struggle to piece a sentence together, is exactly what strengthens independent formation.
Without that struggle, the recognition center keeps getting stronger, but the production center stays exactly where it was.
Now, let's talk about the actual delay you feel when you're trying to speak. Have you ever noticed that pause before a sentence comes out? That little gap where you're searching for words?
A lot of that delay comes from something specific, the brain searching for perfect grammar instead of trusting intuitive patterns.
Advanced learners often do this. You know the rules so well that your brain tries to mentally check every rule before speaking. Is this the correct tense? Should this preposition be in or on? Is this word order right?
Native speakers don't do this. They rely on pattern recognition built from thousands of hours of exposure and use. The sentence just comes out because the pattern feels familiar, not because they consciously checked a grammar rule.
So that delay you feel isn't a sign that your English is weak, it's actually a sign that you're overthinking with the wrong system, the analytical system, instead of trusting the intuitive one.
And the intuitive system only gets built through one thing: repeated active production.
There's actually a nice comparison here with musicians. A jazz musician who improvises isn't calculating every note against music theory in real time. They've practiced scales and patterns so many times that their fingers just know where to go.
A classical musician reading sheet music, on the other hand, is essentially doing recognition. Follow the notes on the page, play them accurately. Completely valid, but a different skill from improvising freely.
Most advanced English learners are like that classical musician, extremely skilled at following what's already there, whether it's subtitles, a script, or familiar vocabulary. But improvising a brand new sentence with no notes to follow feels foreign.
The good news is that improvisation is trainable too. It just requires a different kind of practice than reading music, or in our case, than watching content.
Which brings us to a bigger problem in how most advanced learners actually study: breaking the input addiction.
Let's be honest about something. For years, the advice for learners was simple: consume more, watch more shows, listen to more podcasts, read more books.
And for beginners and intermediate learners, that advice genuinely works. But for advanced learners, learners who already understand almost everything, that advice has become outdated. More input at this stage gives you smaller and smaller returns.
If you're already at a B2 or C1 level and you keep adding hours of passive listening, you're mostly just reinforcing a system that's already strong, your recognition center.
Meanwhile, the system that actually needs attention, production, keeps getting ignored. That's the input addiction. It feels productive because you're doing something in English every day, but it's the comfortable kind of practice, not the effective kind.
So what's the shift here? It's moving from a consumer mindset to a creator mindset. A consumer absorbs content. A creator uses that content as raw material to build something new.
This is really about your output to input ratio. If 90% of your English time is listening or reading, and only 10% is speaking or writing, that ratio needs to change.
It doesn't mean you stop watching your favorite shows. It means you start treating them differently.
Exactly. Instead of movie dialogue just playing in the background while your brain absorbs it passively, use it as an actual script for active imitation.
Pick a scene, maybe just 30 seconds, and pause after each line. Say it out loud yourself. Try to match the rhythm, the stress, the natural pauses. You're not just recognizing the language anymore. You're producing it.
This single change turns entertainment into training. The show is exactly the same. Your relationship with it is completely different.
And this is where fluency actually starts to move.
There's also a mindset shift buried in here that's worth naming directly. A consumer asks, "What can I understand today?" A creator asks, "What can I say today?"
That second question is uncomfortable at first because it forces you to notice exactly what you can't do yet. But that discomfort is actually useful information. It shows you precisely where to focus your energy.
So the next time you finish an episode of a show, try asking yourself, what's one sentence